the Church of Scientology so afraid of?
This is SPTV.
Margaret Atwood, Handmaid's Tale, written in 1985, and it's about a dystopian, futuristic sort of society. At the time, that's what it was about. Now it's actually a present dystopian society about a right-wing sort of fundamentalist group that takes over the government and turns all the fertile women into what they call handmaids.
It's a nightmare scenario.
It
actually,
is.
isn't
It's not a good scene.
Yeah, it's one of those books that.
It's a nightmare scenario. Far right wing groups that infiltrates the government. And then Miss Moss laughs.
I feel I should have read. I
Yeah.
probably got.
It's
And
not too late. It's okay.
yeah.
Just watch the TV program. You
Yeah.
don't have to do the book.
Did you know the book? Did you know the story? Had you read the book before?
Years ago, but now I feel like I know the book so well. I've read it 9 million times. I feel like I hadn't ever read it before. It's my favorite book now, obviously.
You met Margaret Atwood.
Yeah.
She was
Oh,
part
yeah,
of
several
this, very
times.
involved in it.
What other book have you read 9 million times, Elisabeth? Can you think of another book that you could have possibly read that many times? And did this book really replace your favorite book? That's what you just said. This has really just become your most favorite book of all time now, above any book that L. Ron Hubbard wrote. Right or wrong?
What did she tell you about why she wrote that, what your character should be, or did she let you work that out for yourself?
I sort of tried to ask her some really dumb interview questions, that were terrible, and got some answers. But really, I discovered that it was all in the book. Everything I needed to know, was all in there.
Interesting. It was all in the book. It was all in there, Ms. Moss goes on to say. It's all in the books. That's another one of your favorite pitches for anyone that tries to question what in the literal hell you're doing as a full-grown adult woman, still part of this hotel chain, Ms. Moss. Because you and I are about the same age. And yes, I was also grown up in Scientology. Also had that great misfortune of having my parents bring me into it and read me all these books that, don't you remember, Ms. Moss, how we were all about the books inside those hotels? And everything that we needed to ever know could be found in those books. Remember that part?
To barren couples, yeah, exactly. There's a
to
huge
breed for them.
yes.
But it's contemporary times we're talking about. It's not the future. It's not the past.
Yeah, so 1985 was 30 years in the future.
Yeah.
Now 32 years later, it's now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thankful she didn't get it right.
I know, not quite. We're not there yet.
Not there yet.
And there you go, guys, with the corporate media laughing right next to Ms. Moss about how this reporter speaking about unthinkable abuse of women is not happening right now as we speak. In literally, we kid you not, Ms. Moss sponsored hotel chains. So again, we would love to understand how Ms. Moss can sit there with that level of cognitive dissonance, laughing it away, how this is not a thing, how it's not how we are right now, and thank God that it didn't happen, when in fact it has happened. And it's all just a simple GTS away, because apparently at Hulu, at Amazon, with Jeff Bezos, it hasn't been something that they can do in those offices at Hulu, and those offices that decided to really tap Miss Moss for this role, as if the joke wouldn't be on us, the kids that actually grew up in that culture, that Miss Moss, with her white privilege and her, celebrity center protege of the year, child celebrity center protege of the year, Miss Moss was topped from a very young age to do the type of roles that she's doing right now. Her father was, alleged to have stolen and scammed and schemed Chick Corea, another Scientologist musician, out of money. So everyone can go on GTS who exactly is, the deadbeat Scientologist father of the year that literally put Miss Moss to the celebrity center when she was just young and was, having her act. Because yes, these people, the Scientology people, were very, very much into their kids becoming superstars. Go ask Carol Masterson. Go ask Rabisi. Miss Rabisi, another one of those managers that grabbed all manner of kids under her wing to really manage their careers. Legendary managers of Hollywood. So as much as Hollywood wants to pretend it's woke, you guys, as much as Hollywood wants to pretend Scientology is not their literal problem, and it's not the literal, hotel that they sleep with to, do these shows, because let's just pitch America whatever in the hell we want. Nothing we do will ever be held accountable because we have our literal foot on the necks of these supposed journalistic outlets that will help us promote whatever we do. They will help us promote just to have access to Miss Moss, just to have the chance to ask her, how did it feel to act? Because as Miss Moss makes a mockery of what actual Sea Org women are made to do in the real life, not by not wearing makeup and showing up all al natural, like Elisabeth Moss is going to go into ad nauseum, as you will see, because she's such a great actress, you guys. And that is the point. Miss Moss is a great actress. And yes, she's a second generation, but you know what, Elisabeth? You're about my age right now. And right about now is when you should be actually realizing and actually thinking for yourself, what in the literal hell did your daddy put you up to? Start asking that question to yourself first. What was pitched to me as a child that I took in good faith and fully? And then take a look at your assessment of where you are right now in this year 2023, Elisabeth, and then decide what in the literal hell is your exposure legally for donating God knows how much, hundreds of thousands of dollars to these hotels that have been helping you, that have pushed you to be where exactly you are. So credit when credit is due. You are where you are because you've been helped all along the way. So start rethinking that partnership you have, because it has not aged well. That partnership that got you there, where you're laughing at the UK, talking about how women don't go through this, and this Atwood woman couldn't have gotten it more wrong, that it wasn't going to happen right now. Well, it happened. Whatever that woman wrote, it happened. And then she went around and tapped you, because apparently that woman, the one that wrote the book, also has no idea that you are one of those L. Ron Hubbard protege loving, whatever in the hell that science fiction writer, convicted felon in absentia, wrote. It's just all Gucci. So apparently that writer also has not a shred of a clue how to GTS. And then the person that produced this whole entire show, Handmaid's Tale at Amazon, another one of these pathetic studios that have actually zero access to Google. Zero access. We kid you not, you guys. These people just went around and go, oh yeah, she's great, let's just do it. Nobody will ask her any questions when, she actually comes over and starts promoting the show all over the world. No one is going to ask her anything. We'll make sure of that. Your publicist has made very, very sure of that. Right or wrong, Elisabeth Moss, publicist. What type of stipulations did you give all these people when you were parading your client around to go promote this stuff that she's doing? This new role. Because no one is supposed to have a shred of critical thinking skills. Just for the chance of asking Elisabeth Moss watered down questions that just show the level of complicity, duplicity, and stupidity that y'all are a big part of. Since, Miss Moss is represented by the best of the best, right? PR firms that represent Miss Moss, right? CAA. Is Elisabeth Moss represented by CAA, you guys? I don't know, but let's GTS that later. So now it's time to bring the receipts forward, Elisabeth, on what in the hell we mean by your hotels, the ones you fund, the ones that you are a paid member of the IIS, that gives you access to hotels worldwide. Make sure that's very, very clear to you. So inside those hotels, the Sea Org members, not the celebrities, not you, not Riley Keough, not Beck, not any of the celebrities we're referring to. We're only referring to Sea Org kids, including but not limited to kids, minors, and even those women that got pregnant when they were not minors, but they were definitely Sea Org members. And what in the literal hell happened to them? Let's show you some receipts. So we're going to react to this interview that Claire just did on Cults to Consciousness. This is a channel we recommend to you, specifically, Elisabeth. Go watch the content in Cults to Consciousness, because maybe if you hear how the Mormons are being scammed, maybe you start, connecting your own dots. Literally, you go, oh, so the Mormons are also being abused? Oh, so yeah. And you just go, oh, okay, so maybe I need to look at what hell I got involved in, because maybe, it isn't as great of an idea as I've been told my whole childhood it is to belong to this organization from hell. Maybe I am overlooking something. You should really start questioning what in the hell you are overlooking, Elisabeth Moss. And, go check with your publicist to see if they can get any sense in your head. Because apparently your publicists are also enablers, because, they do tell you how to sound and what to say, and they do get the press to not have a shred of a critical thinking skill. But you know what? Those publicists are always, you guys, cutting deals. So, don't ask my client this question, but I'll get you, another interview with this other client that I do have that you do want to talk to, right? So, yeah, so don't ask her that, okay? That's how this stuff is handled, and that's why the media has literally not a shred of spine. So here we go with Cults to Consciousness. And this is dedicated to you and you only, Miss Moss. I'm going to play this here for you so you can tell us, in conjunction with your PR team, you can start typing, how in the literal hell is Handmaid's not a replica of what you are funding, including but not limited to the money that Jeff Bezos and the Hulu people from Amazon gave you to then put into that hotel? How much of your Handmaid's Tales checks when to fund Celebrity Center, when to fund the Fort Harrison Hotel in Clearwater, or the Sandcastle if you're doing OT levels. How much of that paycheck went to fund those hotels? And so that everybody gets the context, you guys, let's play what Claire Headley is about to share with all of us.
Use of the language to reinforce and just keep you in it.
Yeah, and we were talking about how it's kind of a loveless ceremony, and I know that you're not allowed to feel what they perceive to be negative emotions like sadness or anger. I imagine that would be really difficult in a marriage because there's always going to be things where you clash and you need to work stuff out. How did you handle that within your marriage if you're not allowed to have those feelings?
Yeah, you don't really, it's not really accurate to say it's a marriage because, first of all, yes, you sleep in the same bed, but like we were on completely different schedules. We were on completely different meal times. We rarely ever saw each other. So there wasn't a whole lot of time for us to have to work through relationship issues. It was more just like, you know, a struggle to even see each other. Like more, we had, you know, the organization provided us with these Nextel phone radios to communicate with other people on the property. I make that clear because not that we had phones, but we had a means to communicate to each other. So even though I was in a higher organization, I had a radio and I could radio Mark. So we even had a higher level sometimes of communication than other couples did who didn't have those. But like Mark we had this running joke. I would radio him and say, "Hey, what time are you going?" And he's like, "Oh, I got a date tonight." I'm like, "What?" It's like with Lionel, you know, all night long. He's staying up all night.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, Mark's humor is honestly probably at least 80% of why our marriage survived all of that craziness.
That's really sweet, actually. I'm surprised that they were supportive of you getting married at such a young age, especially if they don't allow children in the Sea Org. And I'm wondering, were you aware of your mom's situation? I know that you know now that they kind of gave her that ultimatum, like you're the last person to be able to have a baby, but were you aware of that situation and did you want kids? How were you feeling about that?
Yeah, no, I always wanted kids. But the thing is when you're 16, you know, and speaking for myself, like when I joined this organization, I wasn't married. I wasn't an adult, you know, so I kind of just thought, well, I'll figure it out. Or I didn't even have that much of a thought. It was just path of least resistance. You know, you don't, I mean, I couldn't tell you what would be happening at the end of the year, let alone the rest of my life or a billion years as I was required to commit to. You know, you just, I don't know. It was just kind of a take it by day thing. So prior to getting to the headquarters, I believed that there was a policy where a member of the Sea organization, if they became pregnant, would be sent to a lower level organization, not in the Sea organization, to have the baby. And then when the child was then 6 years old, they would go back. I somewhat thought that was a thing, though I'd never seen it happen. I just didn't realize until I got to the headquarters that the level at which they would frankly pummel women, just like emotionally, heavy manual labor, et cetera, if somebody became pregnant until they reached their breaking point and agreed to terminate and were forced to do so. We had a lawsuit and that was one of the causes of action, was that I was forced to do that twice.
Oh no.
And in that lawsuit, I made a list of every single woman that I personally knew had been forced to do that. And my list was 70 women long. Some of those had been forced to do it up to 6 times.
No. Oh my gosh, that's awful.
It is. It's absolutely and on this isolated property, they have complete control over you. So if you put up a fight, quite literally, you have nowhere to go. It's not like you can jump the fence and run for miles to where.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and I knew that, you know, part of that, the steps that would get enacted when a woman would become pregnant would be to separate them from their husband. Like I said, put them on heavy manual labor, put them on interrogation and ethics handlings to make them realize that they're a bad person, they can't leave, and just literally break them.
Wow, I can't even imagine. That is so awful that they would be forced to do that. Was there anyone who tried to hide that they were pregnant?
Yes, there were a few people that did. One lady in specific that I remember, she hid it until she was 6 months pregnant, and they then forced her to, which was absolutely criminal.
Wait, they forced her to abort a 6-month baby?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
I know. And so Megan Shields was a Scientologist doctor in Los Angeles, and she made a huge stink about that, reporting it all the way up to David Miscavige that this was criminal. It was, you know,
unethical,
for all intents and purposes, murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my experience was that it was 1994. I was not yet in Religious Technology Center, but I was working at that headquarters, and I found out I was pregnant, and I literally was absolutely terrified, devastated, heartbroken, like just everything. Like it was seriously one of the worst moments of my life, because I was in this massive conflict that I wanted nothing more, and yet I knew that I was not going to be allowed to get out of there. I had nowhere to go. Like, talk about complete desperation. They would literally just destroy my marriage to my husband. So what should have been joyful celebration moment was complete terrifying fear. And the isolation was such that it's not like I could just go to the drugstore and find out by myself what was going on. I had to go to the medical person and say, I need to buy a pregnancy test. And so I had to pay for it. And, you know, out of my $46. So now the cat's out of the bag already. And so she sat there while I took the test. So it's not like I could keep it a secret.
Yeah.
Let's see, 94, I was 19 at this point. I had been married for 2 years. So instantly it was like, so we're going to take you to the Planned Parenthood clinic. This is what's going to happen. And I was just besides myself. But again, the fear and the control and the leverage that they have over you is so complete. There's no way out. As much as I wanted to sit there and scream, you know, they just instantly kick into, this is what's going to happen next. You're going to get escorted here. You're going to talk to these people. You're going to tell them that this is what you've decided. So they had me escorted there by this 6-foot Australian guy who was my boss, basically. And he sat in the waiting room, and every ounce of my being was like wanted to scream. And, you know, they about near broke me at the Planned Parenthood when they were like, "Where's your husband?" And I'm just like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. That is not okay. And I know that you know that. It's just,
I know.
Wow, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was, you know, I don't know. It did break me, but then I go, my view now is what breaks you, it breaks and it grows back stronger, you know?
Yeah.
It's a big part of why I do what I do. And, you know, nobody should have to go through that. It's just not. So.
Yeah.
It's sometimes.
Here. CC Jeff Bezos and all Hulu employees that had anything to do with hiring Miss Moss to go be your main lead actress in that pathetic joke y'all have pitched to us with our pain. If what Claire Headley didn't describe here raise a single shred of a red flag to y'all at Amazon and Hulu, that could have literally been all saved if y'all would have been like, she does have some weird connections. And, you know, we are doing a show about government infiltration, check mark, abortions and forced abortions and birth control of women, check mark. And it is contemporaneous in the right now, happening as we speak, check mark. Three strikes, y'all are out, is what the message is here. Since at Amazon, you guys, they have not a shred of a wanting to do any due diligence on any type of show that they do. They have like literally no social responsibility. Why are they coming up with these packages? Why are they sleeping with, including but not limited to, this actress that nobody wants to call out her dangerous liaisons as an adult grown woman? Mind you, Miss Moss is a full-grown adult woman today. She wasn't when she was indoctrinated as a child, but you know what? Miss Moss does have access to a lot of people around the world that can GTS, including but not limited to her own publicist. So since somebody is getting paid to do a job, but yet no one is advising Miss Moss on anything, because I guess they're all just so thirsty to get a paycheck from Jeff Bezos that, you know, whatever. It's just whatever, anything goes, everything goes. The joke is on nobody. We are so great at Hulu. It's so great to work here in this company where we literally don't give a shred of an F what kind of packaging and material we put together. Right or wrong, Hulu executives. Right or wrong, Jeff Bezos. Right or wrong, Elisabeth Moss. The allegations that Claire just discussed here in this literal GTS away content that any of you could find for yourselves if you actually cared. It's something that's been on the public record for decades. And guess what? Claire Headley wasn't the only one. Tampa Bay Times, as abysmal and pathetic as they are, did cover this subject with a little bit more concern, because they were coming with girls that this was done to them. Of course, this was done to them. We saw it. We all were there when they were being told that. I was a supervisor, you guys, and as a supervisor, I would go into the case supervisor's office, and there were the case supervisors saying, oh, this one just got pregnant. She needs to get sec checked because she wants to leave. Let's get her to change her mind, you know. And then these case supervisors would then literally be like, yeah, go send her to the MLO. That's the medical liaison office. So they're going to liaise you with some medical person, Planned Parenthood, like Claire just told us. Go send them to Planned Parenthood. Go get them the abortion. When they come back, we'll give them a Ned assist, is what they called it, you guys. Ned assist. And they would lock up one of these girls in those rooms, in those hotel rooms, and tell them, aren't you so lucky that we're going to now talk about your abortion ad nauseum, L. Ron Hubbard style. Go over to the beginning of the incident and tell me when you're there. Literally, these girls were supposed to now discuss what happened when they showed up there to have their baby murdered. Tell me when you're there. What did you see? What was going on? Okay, again, go over to the beginning of the incident and let's go over it again and let's go over it again and let's go over it again until the girl says like, yeah, you know what? It doesn't hurt anymore. I just feel great. And, you know, they told them that they needed to find a postulate. That was the thing. What made you decide to have this horrific trauma happen to you? So then the girl has to be like, oh yeah, I postulated just my life sucking ad nauseum. I mean, what kind of therapy is this that Miss Moss is literally a part of? Since I think even the Handmaid Tale is a watered down version of reality in terms of what those women actually do go through when they are slaves, recruited as children, like Claire just said. She was 16 years old, Elisabeth. You never joined the Sea Org, so you have not a shred of a clue, apparently. And you've never cared, apparently, because you've been around Sea Org members. So even if you weren't treated like a slave, Elisabeth, take it upon yourself to look around and see, well, you know, do you accept $40 from Jeff Bezos to go do these movies? It'd be great for you and your publicist to write that on your statement as well. Include your payment that you get for being a lead actress in a Hollywood, Hulu, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, whatever. And see if you're also accepting $46 to go do that. If you're just volunteering your time, just like we've been told we were doing. We were told we were all just little volunteers that couldn't escape the hotels, that our passports were locked up, that we were being sent to an MLO to tell us and advise us what to tell the doctors when we got there so that no one would suspect a shred of a thing. So when everything can start making sense, you guys, we can literally know what in the hell is going on. Because right now, absolutely nothing in the world is making sense as we speak.
And you find yourself filming all over the place, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Last year, I spent 6 months in Sydney doing the second season of Top of the Lake, and then I spent 6 months in Canada shooting this.
So that was shot in Canada?
Yeah, standing in for Massachusetts.
So you had to be an Australian in Canada.
Yeah.
Standing in for Massachusetts.
No, Australian in Sydney.
Sydney.
Yes.
Oh, right. But, right.
Try to keep it straight.
Can you do the Australian accent okay? Was that all right?
I think I did okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. It'll be up to everyone. I did okay the first time. So the second time, I think it's maybe hopefully a little better.
And Top of the Lake, is Nicole Kidman's in this season? Because there's been a big gap, hasn't there? It's
Yeah.
like 4 years.
But Elisabeth, you choose your work well, don't
Thank
you?
you.
You've done very well. West Wing, Mad Men, this, which is
follow
getting
good
rave
writing.
reviews.
Shout out to the press bringing up Nicole Kidman's name, and you see how whatever in the hell they discussed then, they just cut it out, you guys, right in front of our eyes, because they literally effed up by bringing up that name in front of Elisabeth Moss, who doesn't want to hear a shred of Nicole Kidman's name being brought up in her presence. How dare they? She's a declared SP. It's already all over the public record how Miss Moss ran out of a room where Leah Remini was being given an award. So when we talk about these people labeling us all manner of names, suppressive, antisocial, whatever projection they're putting on us, Miss Moss and every last Scientologist that wants to project on us that we're the ones with the problem, apparently. So again, Miss Moss is being called out for exploiting the opportunity for herself, for exploiting Sea Org members herself, for allowing herself to be anywhere near a hotel that would staff its most basic hotel duties with including to, but not limited to, minors, foreign minors, foreign workers who were brought here with bogus visas to do free labor because America believes in importing slaves, you guys. All of you that thought the Constitution abolished slavery couldn't be more wrong. All of you that thought the amendments meant anything could not be any more wrong. If Hollywood is around, they want slaves. They like it like that. That's how they purport to be these big royals with this big influence and power over the world. Right? Hollywood is what? Americans' royalty, apparently. Well, you know, Americans' royalty, a lot of them, not every single one, you guys, so this is not every last shred of Hollywood person might not be into child slavery, but the ones that frequent these hotels do. Period. Full stop. The ones that frequent these hotels, like Miss Moss, that can play it up. She's so cookies and granola. Ha ha ha. Let me sound very relatable right now. Miss Moss can definitely play the part, you guys. She wouldn't be where she is if she wasn't capable of playing the part. Let's make sure that is very, very clear.
As well.
Yeah, I really try to. That's the most important thing to me is good writing. And I've had the great fortune of working with some incredible writers, you know,
Yes.
starting with Aaron Sorkin.
Well, this is why we sit here. We're attracted.
Shout out to you, Aaron Sorkin. Shout out to you, who also, apparently Aaron Sorkin, you guys, has no access to Google, has no access to understand what in the hell he's getting involved with and who in the hell he's getting involved with. So shout out to another woke Hollywood elite genius writer, whatever in the hell Aaron Sorkin is supposed to be writing, Miss Moss is finding very, very good for her to, sink her little claws into. So shout out to you too, Aaron Sorkin.
It's the writing that attracts us, isn't it, Ollie? It's the writing all
Didn't you-
day on this.
You wanted to be a ballet dancer, didn't you?
Yeah.
So why did that stop and the acting started then?
Because
What made you change your mind?
When I was 15, I decided I could give up ballet, but I couldn't give up acting. And that was
Yeah.
it. It was really kind of simple.
And that is it. It really is kind of simple, you guys. At 15 years old, Miss Moss decided that acting was something she was definitely not willing to give up. Definitely not. And fun fact for you, Elisabeth. When I was 15, I was already locked up in those hotels as a Sea Org member. I was actually, in fact, on my way to the hole as a minor. Literally a year away from being locked up at the Hacienda Gardens in C Block and O Block under 24-hour surveillance, 365, with cameras, with barbed wire, and tapped to do the unthinkable, Elisabeth. And if you don't know anything about what's going on in the Sea Org, let's tell you. So you're not one of those pampered pooches public that cannot hear the black PR coming out of the Sea Org, because then they will get disillusioned that they might be getting scammed. So this is for you and your publicists. Google it. Google my name and Google the information that is already out there in the public record, so I don't have to repeat myself ad nauseum. But it has to do with the fact that a self-admitted, you know exactly what in the hell I'm talking about. A man who had that problem, Elisabeth, was made my twin. And you know exactly what that relationship is. To have a twin in Scientology, you're very familiar with that term. Because that's what they give you in Scientology, you guys. That's your twin. Go do the courses, go ask yourself those disgusting questions, go complete more things, go do it with a self-admitted, you know exactly what in the hell we're referring to. So before you continue to gaslight more people, you will get called out. And the sooner you and your publicist reach the nearest place where you can start typing statements that make sense, make sure you start sending that out. So you can then start cleaning your image. So, you know, what happened to Allison Mack, who was involved in NXIVM, Smallville actress, Allison Mack, that did end up in federal prison, turns out. She did. The law did catch up to her. Took a long time. But you know what? NXIVM, that is just a cheap, ridiculous, watered-down version of Scientology, didn't have that y'all definitely do have, Elisabeth. A children problem at the level and scale that y'all have. There have been some kids reported at NXIVM. They did have some weird schools going on, and there were some minors that were brought in for Keith. But again, Keith was just a pathetic, ridiculous, small-scale idiot. So, in a way, that worked out for the NXIVM people because they didn't give themselves that much access to kids. And that's something that y'all inside those hotels, as we speak in this year 2023, as you grow up to be a full-blown grown woman in this year 2023, access to all manner of people that by now could have gotten to you if you didn't know better, if you weren't pretending that you know best. And don't let anyone say a single critical thing about what I am so about. Because then you're going to call them that they are just apostates, blah, blah, blah. Projection names, Miss Moss, that mean nothing. It's time for you to come to present time. It's time for reality to actually bite. And that's what we're going to leave you with. Reality bites. Go watch that movie from Winona Ryder from the 90s. Very, very good movie. One of the few ones I remember that I did get to see when I was a kid before I got abducted into that hotel. Go take a look at Reality Bites and then, you know, write yourself a little essay of how reality is going to start biting when you understand what in the hell you're funding with your donations to that hotel. Okay? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all very, very, very soon. Bye-bye.